I want you to make sure you go away from here with all of your questions answered about council election and election land. All right. Pretty casual. Let's keep it nice and straightforward. So just sing out at any point. Welcome also to those in the live stream land. If you've got any questions, pop them in the Q&A and I can deal with those as we go through at the same time. Okay, as Mania said, these are the people involved in the election. I'm the election officer. Tamara at the back there is deputy election officer who looks after the nuts and bolts on the ground. And these are the councils that we work with. We work with 47 councils, election officer of 44. Been around the block a bit, done lots of elections. I was trying to work it out the day. I think I've done just about 900 council elections and by-elections over the years. Dealt with lots of candidates, lots of people. As Mania said, know quite a bit about the election process. I live in Tauranga, born and bred in Rangitikei, Martin. Spent a lot of time in Christchurch before the earthquakes. And our office is based in Christchurch, where we have a full-time team there of 10 who look after the nuts and bolts of the election process. Okay, other organisations involved in the elections? Yes, the Electoral Commission is involved a little bit. They give us the electoral rolls for the election, but nothing else. They don't have any say in how the elections run. They don't have any control over the election process. They don't do any of the advertising or the comms. They just give us the electoral roll, which we then use to print the voting papers and send them out to everyone. The Ombudsman, once again, also doesn't have any say in the council elections. So if someone doesn't like a decision that I make or the way I run an election, the Ombudsman is not the person to go to. The person that I do report to is a district court judge. Not the mayor, not the council, not the council CE, as Mania said. District court judge is the only person that the election officer answers to. And Lagoima, at the same deal, doesn't apply to me because of the way we work as an independent contractor. What's local government about? This is Mania's space, but big deal. Council, complex business, lots of things going on. These are high-level things that the council does. Lots of pieces of legislation. And standing for council is a big deal. It's not a 5-minute job. It is a big responsibility with lots of rewards and lots of positive things. As Mania said, really rewarding job being an elected member and having a say in how your district is run, and things like these facilities. Really big deal, a great thing to do. There's some information there in the candidate handbook all about that. Council's candidate handbook is on the council's website. Tamara has got details of them as well, along with the nomination papers. But it's not always a bed of roses. We all know, particularly with some of the negative stuff on social media these days, that some negativity can come elected members' way, can come candidates' way. Sometimes candidates cause some of the negativity. It is what it is, but if you're standing for council, be aware that some of this stuff happens. If you're going to, campaign events or meet the candidate sessions or just meeting electors, things that you arrange, just be mindful of some of those things when you're at venues like this. Work out where the exits are, work out what your de-escalation point might be if something happened and your public safety happened to be impacted or you were worried about it. Just be mindful of those things. Be mindful of social media. Maybe use a different account or a different email number or a different mobile number in your campaigning, separate from your personal stuff, so that you don't get tied up with some negativity that could come your way. Any questions about it? Here's high-level things that elected members do, mayor and the councillors. Governance, not management, and the council only employs one person, Manaia. How many full-time FTEs in council staff?
I think it's about 280.
280. And your annual turnover, big dollars?
50.
50 mil. Okay. So almost 300 staff, 50 mil turnover, big organisation. These are some of the things that are handy to have as elected member. Good listening skills is super important, and good reading skills, because there's truckloads of reading to do. Talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Robert knows all about this. Remember, you're here really to think district-wide, even though you might be elected from a ward. You're there for the whole district. And if you haven't got public speaking skills, by the time you've been on council for a month or two and been around the council table, you'll soon pick up the skills in that department. Lots of meetings, just about 50 a year, so just about one a week. Yeah, pretty much full-time job, councillors, 20 hours plus, and flexibility, working weekends in the evenings, particularly when council agendas come out and there's lots and lots of reading to do. Council agenda can be pieces of paper, lots of them, a couple 100 pages, provided electronically. Tomorrow, are they electronic and hard copy?
No,
just electronic. So you got to go through those, and your preparation for council meetings can take quite a while. And there's the remuneration. Basically 140K for the mayor, close to 50 for a councillor. Elected members are self-employed, not council employees. So therefore you got to look after your own ACC and GST and all of that stuff. Do you get provided a laptop, is it? An iPad? Yeah. Laptop?
For elected members, and the mayor has a laptop
And a phone, okay. Righto, what's the election got? So my role as election officer under the legislation is to carry out the election in accordance with the Act, just a bit prescriptive. As I say, don't take direction from anyone else, but I'm not responsible for what people do in their campaigning space. Politics of it, the stuff between candidates, I don't get involved in. So if someone says nasty things about you and you get offended by it, don't go and ask me. Outside my sphere of caring. I've got quite a big sphere of caring, but that's outside it. Okay. Normal part of politics. It's all about me doing things to make sure that it's a level playing field for everyone in the organisation of the election. And the voting documents, etc. Here's the key slide with the dates. Please lock these dates away. Very important. Here we are today. Nominations open 4th of July. Close 12 noon, Friday, 1st of August. Not 12:01, 12 noon. Talk a little bit about that in a minute. And then this time around, there is a change to the election process where the voting period has been extended by 10 days. Used to be 22 days, now 32 days. So basically the voting papers are out there for a month. This presentation will go up on council's website as well tomorrow. Yep. Great. Great.
We also have the timetable already on the website.
Yeah. Okay. So check that out. So these are the elections in mpdc, you'll know all about these. Those are the wards, those are the number of electors on the right-hand side in those particular areas. And then the regional council at the same time. And all candidates' names are in random order on the voting documents, which means in your household, you and your partner's voting papers, the order of candidates will be different. Printed on the fly, jumbled up, all different. However, the list of candidates in the candidate profile booklet, a little booklet that comes with it, is in alphabetical order, so that it's easy to find particular candidates. Any questions about that? About 73% of the country is in random order. Some councils are alpha. Same time, council was also having a Māori ward poll. I've got quite a few councils around the country. These things have come in. The government has made this a requirement for those councils that have decided to have a Māori ward since 2020. So in Waikato Regional's case, they made a decision before then and had one in place for quite some time. They do not have to have a Māori ward poll, but the council does. So I've got some councils where I've got Māori ward poll for the council and a Māori ward poll for the regional council at the same time. A bit confusing, but it is what it is. And here is what the wording is going to be. I vote to keep the Māori ward and I vote to remove the Māori ward. Everyone on the electoral roll will get to vote for that. Okay. Questions about that? It's for the period from 2028 to 2034, binding, not the period 2028 to 2031, 2025 to 2028, when a Māori ward councillor will be elected this election and will be in place, irrespective of the outcome of the poll. Got to be a New Zealand citizen and on the electoral roll. Come in with your nomination documents to Tamata at the council office or scan and email them through. Remember, key thing is please do not leave lodging your nomination documents till the last minute. We always say this, but usually about almost 50% of candidates put their nominations in the last 48 hours. If you leave it to the last minute, and the last minute, I mean the last hour, there is a distinct chance that if something's not quite right with your nomination, you don't have time to get it fixed. You won't be a candidate. If you bring it in, your nominator's not on the roll, you haven't got much time to get it fixed. So get them in early so that we can check them, make sure that everything's all sorted. And if you got time to fix anything that's not quite right. If you are leaving it to last minute, you've got to be inside the door of the council office when the pips go on the national program at 12 noon on Friday, the 1st of August, not 12:01. If you're inside the door within your hot little hand, tomorrow we'll take it away and process it, even if that ends up being after midday. Same thing if you are emailing it through to Tamata, you've got to email it so that it's received by Tamata by midday, not 12:01. Don't do what someone did in Tauranga last year, sent it by email at 11:58. By the time it went through cybersecurity, council's email servers and all the palaver that happens with that, turned up at 12:01. Too late, not a candidate. We all know when we send an email, it doesn't quite often get there straight away, a lot of the time. So bear that in mind. Give it some time to get there. Make sure it's sent well in time. Not the time you send it, the time we receive it. Can use your commonly used name on the voting documents. You know, if you're known as Edward, if your name's Edward, but you're known as Ted, no problem. Whatever you're commonly known by in the community. Can be your maiden name, if that's what you're known by. But you can't use titles. You can't have doctor or professor or PhD or anything. Or ONZM, all of those things. You can have a party affiliation. It's not really a party affiliation, it's affiliation. It's like a tagline or slogan, independent, rate control team. What was one I came across the other day? More democracy, less bureaucracy. Yeah, pretty much anything you like. Maximum of 38 characters. A space is a character. Don't have to. A lot of people do. You don't have to. It can be independent, can be truly independent, completely and utterly always independent. As long as it's 38 characters, no more. Sorry, we are keen on electronic payment of your $200 deposit. We just want to see the transaction receipt out of your banking system when you send in your nominations. I want a copy of that. Yeah.
Photo, does it need to be sent in electronic form?
Come to that in a sec, but yes, preferably you can give a hard copy of a photo. It just means that council has to scan it, but it's much easier if it's electronic. Then we can crop it and do the things we need to do. We'll talk a little bit about that in a sec. The profile, 150 words, max 150 words, not 151. We check this to the nth degree. So make sure you get it right. On the nomination paper, you do have to state whether you live in the area or not, and if you are standing in other elections. I'll show you what this looks like in a sec. Those two bits are not part of the 150 words. What could our regional council's elections go to Dave and his team at the regional council in Hamilton? Remember, the nomination paper is a public document. Anyone can come and have a look at it. Which is why this time we've put the box for the candidate address, physical address, on the back side of the nomination paper so that it's not as publicly available. Back to that safety slide before, candidate safety, wanting to keep your personal details out of the public domain. So once nominations are closed, we will put up on council's website a list of council contact details, name, party affiliation, election standing for, contact method, not physical address. Here's what the nomination paper looks like on council's website soon. In the back section, here's the details here, where they go to, and the details of paying your $200 deposit. $200 deposit for each position that you might stand in. $200 for the mayor, $200 for the ward if you're standing in both. Nominator and seconder got to be on the roll in the area that you're standing. As a candidate, you don't have to. You can live anywhere you like. You can live in Tauranga and stand over here if you want to. I had a gentleman in the last council elections in the top of the south stand in the mayoralty for the top of the south, top of the South Island councils. 6 councils, $200 each time. On each profile book, it has his name and I am standing for the names of all the other councils. He came last in all those elections, but he stood in each one, $200 a time. No problem. Can be done. Doesn't matter where you live. Just a nominator and seconder got to be in the area you're standing for. Can't stand for the council and the regional council at the same time. Got to be careful if you've got a contract or your partner's got a contract with the council for more than $25,000 a year. There's a whole lot of stuff about that on the audit office website. You need to check that out. Can't be retrospective, has to be sorted before you're a candidate. And you can't stand for more than one ward. And you can't withdraw after closed nominations. More on that in a sec. For the Māori ward, you don't have to be on the Māori roll, but the nominator and seconder do. Can't change your mind after the close of nominations. Can beforehand, but after nominations closed, once you take a look at the rest of the candidates, you can't ring me up and go, oh, actually, I've changed my mind. Can I withdraw it? No, you can't. Unless it's on grounds of medical incapacity, which can be done. A few hoops to jump through. Does happen every now and then, but not very often. Grounds of medical incapacity. Any questions about that? Say 150 words, not 151, max 150. Remember, I check it. People try and get inventive by chucking in lots of hyphens and putting words together or coming up with fancy acronyms. We check all of that and we'll go with normal convention. 150 words in English, you can have 150 words in Te Reo, substantially the same. And we check to see if it's substantially the same. I have someone on my team who's fluent in Te Reo and he checks that for me. It's not my job to check what's in your candidate profile statement. There's a disclaimer in the candidate profile booklet about that. If you tell porkies in your profile statement, not my problem. Photos, yes. Electronic, yes. Taken in the last 12 months, yes. Colour, yes. As high a res as you can get, preferably taken, on a phone against a good clear background, head and shoulders shot. You can smile, all good, no problems. Nice, good photo. 300 DPI would be great. Please don't take a 72 DPI photo ripped off your Facebook page. It'll pixelate and print like a fuzzy bear. So we won't want that. But no hats, no sunglasses, no pets, no babies, no trees, no one else, nothing fancy. Nice head and shoulder shot of you by yourself. There's a good example of one. This is the format that it looks like. First name, lower caps, surname caps. There's my affiliation, proven, dedicated, real. Sounds like me. And my principal place of residence is in the area that I'm standing in or is not within. And I'm also standing for another election if I was standing for something. If you weren't standing for anything else, that wouldn't be there. And then smack bang straight into your 150 words. Okay. Any questions? Good. Okay. Campaigning space. Got to be a little bit careful about this. There's a few requirements, even though as election officer don't get involved in the campaigning space. You can't use council resources. Can't use the council logo, council colours. Can't stand outside a council building with the council's name on the back on the background visible in your photo. Can't use a council taken photo. Can't campaign in the council chambers. There'll be a notice on the door of the council chambers soon saying no electioneering campaigning can occur in here. So you can't go to a council meeting, rock up in the back of the room wearing a Vote For Me t-shirt, or have some friends sitting in the gallery holding up a Vote For Me sign. No, thanks. Against election rules. Got to record your expenses. We'll talk about that in a minute. But any piece of campaigning material, any piece, every piece, campaigning material has got to have this little authorization statement on it. Authorized by you or your agent, contact method. Not physical address. Used to be physical address. Don't have to put the physical address anymore. Just your name, contact method, phone, email, or link to a website or a QR code, go to a website where those details are. Doesn't need the physical address. Every piece of campaigning material, balloons, hats, t-shirts, posters, cars, billboards, badges. If you get a badge, you're going to have an authorization on it. Doesn't say how big or small it can be. It just has to be on it somewhere. Like, for example, a sign like this out in the road, you can have a little sticky labeled sized piece down the corner that says authorized by or written down the side. No problem. Doesn't say how big or small, just got to be there so that when we hop out of our car, we can go, oh yeah, there it is. Every piece of campaign material. Now remember, bottom there, if you're telling porkies in your adverts, your campaign material, someone can take that to the Advertising Standards Authority and complain that it's not factually correct. They have a process for dealing with that. They will come back to you and get you to change it if it is completely and utterly factually incorrect. And as I said there, don't like what someone says about you, too bad. But if it's defamation, you can take it to court. This time around, council is doing candidate videos. This was done originally by Tauranga City last year for their election. You can go to the Tauranga City Council site and have a look at how they've done their videos. Pretty smart. 90-second video answering 3 to 4 generic questions like what skills do you bring to the table? Why are you standing for council? What's the most important things facing council over the next 3 years? Questions like that. You'll know what those questions are in advance. You'll have time to prep for it. Come in, do quick video, done by the council staff, on council premise, same lighting, same sound, level playing field. Shouldn't take too long, 20 minutes, half an hour. Get a couple of goes at it, and then go up on council's website once it's all sorted. Okay. After the close nominations, council will contact you about that. Tamara, are you happy with that? All good? Social media, wild, wild west, I call it sometimes. Interesting space to be in. Lots of campaigning happens in social media. That's all good. Just got to be mindful of a few things. Council, of course, has to be neutral, so council won't like or follow candidates. Council has a disclaimer on their social media channel now that says no electioneering or campaigning comments are permitted on council's Facebook page, because the audience that sees that is council's audience, not a candidate's audience. So any electioneering posts on there, any comments about candidates or about elected members will be zapped. And if someone continued to post those sorts of comments, then I would have a chat, you'd have a grumpy Warwick on the phone, and eventually you'd be blocked. So please don't go there. Any questions about that? Be mindful of strange things that happen on social media. I had a candidate a couple of elections ago who created spoof Facebook pages of other candidates and put comments on them on there, making it look like it was coming from the candidates. Ended up being front page news, was all over the media. Those candidates got really grumpy about it. It's not illegal. Wasn't nothing we could do about it. The same guy after that, even though it had been in the media, then created a spoof Tauranga City Council electoral officers page and put comments on it from me, as if I was some idiot making outrageous statements. Not illegal, part of the deal, sometimes happens. With social media, you can take council's posts about anything, about an event or something that's going on, and send it to your audience, no problem. With a campaigning message, if you like. You just can't do anything to go back to council's page because that's then piggybacking on council's audience. You can't tag council in, you can't like, can't share, can't review, can't rate, all that stuff that then impairs on council's feed. But you can take it your way and go outwards, no problem at all. So simple premise, go your way, don't go back. Easy as that. If that does happen, and some people won't get it right, we'll soon intercept that, have a chat, and then eventually we'll come back to the candidate and say, please don't do that again. If they continue to do it, then we would block them. Set out in the candidate handbook, check that out. Remember, it is illegal to take a photo of your completed voting paper, photo of it, and post it on the internet. Against legislation. You can take a photo of it and take the snib of your name with a circle and a tick in it and put that on the internet. You just can't show other candidates' names without a tick. I'll show you what this looks like on a sign in a minute. Speaking of signs, my favourite topic, not. Signs cause all sorts of problems. And I think even in this district, we've had issues with signs over the years of something about font sizes from memory. It caused a few hassles a few years back. Bit of a minefield. Council's regulatory team look after this. There are rules, the hoardings policy in the handbook. Make sure you get it right. Make sure you get the size right. Make sure you get the size of lettering right. It is a bit tricky. If you're a regional council candidate, Robert's case, if he's standing across 2 or 3 different councils, he's got different sign rules in each council, which makes it even more confusing. Because you got some councils have 2 months, some councils have 3 months, some councils have signs come down the day before, some have them coming down the day after the election closed. It's not a legal requirement in council elections for signs to come down the day before election day, like it is for the parliamentary elections. It's not a legal requirement, but council's hoardings policies do state that in some cases. So be mindful of that, read the candidate handbook, check out the hoardings policies, and just make sure you comply. Cost of the framing of the wood holding up your sign, though, is not an election expense. So you've got a certain amount of money you can spend on your campaign. I'll show you what that is in a minute. Cost of the framing holding your sign up is not part of that. Tamara, you got anything you want to add about signs?
Sorry, what was that?
You got anything you'd like to add about signs in the district? No? Good. Not on council land? Yeah. Bit of a minefield. So, electoral donations and expenses. You do have to record all donations and expenses for your campaign. Donations, even if you received a donation last year, if it was for your campaign, you have to declare that donation and who it's from. Remember, the days of anonymous donations are pretty much gone. The old John Banks rule a few years ago, if you know who the donation is from, or you can reasonably work it out from your bank statement, you have to list the name of the person that it's from. Someone comes to you and says, here's $500 for your campaign, but I don't want anybody to know. You have to say, sorry, if you give it to me, I know who you are. I have to declare that. Legal requirement. Okay. Few issues around, donations that are fundraising. They're a bit tricky. Those GoFundMe things, those guys, they don't comply with the legislation because they don't keep a record of who the donor is. So you can't use GoFundMe and whatever those other ones are. Lots of information in the candidate handbook about this because it does get a bit tricky. If you do get an anonymous donation, don't know how you could, but if you do, if it's over $1,500, you've got to give the balance to the council. So who's going to do that? If it's truly anonymous. There's the maximum amount you can spend. on your campaign, including GST, based on the population of those areas, not the electoral roll, the population. Set in legislation, if you're standing for the mayoralty and the ward, it's not 34,000, it's the max, it's the higher limit, 20,000. Applicable for the 3-month period, 11th July to the 11th of October. A few fish hooks in this. You could put full page ad in the Waikato Times on the 10th of July, cost a few $1,000s, outside the 3 months, not part of your election expenses. Because the Waikato Times is a daily paper, life cycle one day, the next day there's another paper. So therefore, it's a campaigning item that's only there for one day. If you put it in a monthly magazine on the same day, then that goes into the 3-month period, so then the cost of that would be included. For example, if you had your car sign written soon and you were driving around for 4 months and it cost you $1,000 to sign write it, 3 months is the election period, 3 months of the 4 months, 75%, 75% of the cost of the sign writing is what you put in your campaign expense. 1,000, 75%, $750. As an example. Remember, if you do that, your car's got to have authorised by on the bottom of it somewhere. Got to fill in a candidate expense form, which then goes on council's website for 7 years. Media and other candidates look at these things and question if you haven't recorded any expenses that might get you close or over the limit. Check that out. Previous expense returns are on council's website. You can go and have a look if you like. A few things you can't also do. You've got to be mindful of some offences: treating, bribery, undue influence. Bribery would be, what's an example? If you could meet some friends for a coffee down at a local cafe, and you can shout them a cup of coffee, but you can't say, "I'll shout you this coffee if you vote for me." The moment you use a call to action with providing something of value, that's bribery, treating against the legislation. You can't also have a campaign meeting and provide alcohol. Yeah, got a question online?
About expenses online.
Yep.
Are all expenses met by the candidate?
Yes, except for the $200 deposit that you pay the beer candidate is not an election expense, nor is the cost of the photo, the photo that you take to go in the profile booklet, or any cost of creating your 150 words, nor is the cost of the candidate video that council is arranging. But everything else on the campaign is part of the campaign expenses that you have to record. But any questions about that, just sing out if you're unsure about it, and Tamara and I will sort that out. Can't give away an item of value, pen, fridge magnet, that can be used for another purpose. If you give someone a pen, you can continue to use the pen for forever and a day. That therefore means it is of value and is against the legislation. Undue influence. You asked us a lot. What does undue influence mean? It doesn't mean someone knocking on your door saying you should vote for me. Undue influence is if someone was standing over you while you had your pen in your hand, looking to put a tick in your voting paper, and someone says, "No, not that tick. You put it there. Not that candidate. You put it there." That is undue influence in the act of voting. That is what that means. It's a good sign. Authorization statement doesn't need the address. Not a good sign because it's got this candidate and other candidates with a cross or nothing in their box. So same goes with your photo of your completed voting paper post online. You can't have. Okay. Here's an example of Mayor Michael's sign from any clues. Anybody know where that is? That's council building at Horowhenua District Council in Levin. Mayor Michael put his car parked right outside the door in the council car park, council resource. He had another car park underneath the council building, an underground car park that he was provided, but he parked it there to get exposure. So I made him move it. Council resource can't be used for campaigning purposes. It was authorised on the back of it, so that was good. Can't use council resource for your campaigning or electioneering. That's just an interesting sign in Lower Hutt. Sign of a man holding a sign. Good authorisation. And you might remember this one from a few years back in Tauranga. I'll do my best, but I can't promise anything. This guy was not a candidate. It's just some random guy who decided to put up a sign as a bit of a laugh. And it stayed up there. The council didn't take it down. They thought it was hilarious. I'll do my best, but I can't promise it. Okay, orange bins this time around. Orange voting bins, bigger than being here. We'll have lots of them around the district. Tamara, how many orange bins have you got?
We have
Six?
6 bins and then 3 smaller bins. That we
Okay, so there'll be supermarkets.
Supermarkets, libraries, and we also have a mobile voting bin, which will be one of the orange ones, which will take to different facilities with partner people.
Okay, so orange voting bins in places where it's easy for people to get to. There'll be a list in the candidate profile booklet where they are to be on council's website. There'll be lots of comps about it. As candidates, you can tell anyone and promote that as much as you like. Encourage you to tell people to get them into the orange bins, as opposed to postal network, which takes a bit longer for it to get back to us. Last couple of elections I've done, I've had 85% of the votes come back through the orange bins. Keen for that again. Normal orange bin size, 80 litres, can't miss them. Will be sign written, easy as. With padlocks, chains, completely secure. As I said before, the Electoral Commission provide the electoral roll. We'll skip through these pretty quick. That we use for the prelim roll for people to check nominees and seconders, and then eventually use it for printing out the voting papers from. Can get a hard copy of the electoral roll. You got to pay for it. Can't be provided electronically against the legislation. And for those who have moved or have lost their voting papers or didn't change their address during the voting period, you can come to the council office and do a special vote. People who are on the unpublished roll. There'll be a couple hundred of those. That'll happen in Matamata-Piako during the voting period at the council offices. And election results on the day, roughly about 3 o'clock. The council will release the result. Everybody will be rung. Then the next day, so that'll be about an 85% result because it won't include votes in the orange voting bins late on the Friday and the Saturday morning. So we'll then get those sent in to us to our processing centre in Christchurch. We'll then produce the prelim result on the Sunday afternoon. And then later on in the week, the final result. Close is close. In my world, some results are close. It was relatively close here last time for the mayoralty. Close in my world is less than 10. And in that case, then, it is a possibility to go for a recount, although these days recounts are hard to get approved by a district court judge. You might remember last time there was a margin of 7 in the mayoralty in Gore, where a long-standing mayor got rolled. Margin of 7, took a recount. The judge decided that just because it was close wasn't good enough reason to grant a recount. There wasn't one. 7 in my world is still quite a long way away, the way the process works. But the reason why I mention is that sometimes we can see results that swap between the prelim roll and the final, the prelim result and the final result because of specials. Sometimes there can be swings of 20, 30, 50 votes. Close is close. Any questions about that? Then after that, council has an induction process. Well, first of all, there's the inaugural meeting, which is quite a big deal. Friends and whānau come along. It's quite a ceremony. And then after that, an induction process that Manaia and Tamara and her team will go through to get elected members up to speed. And here are all the different pieces of information that you can check out. Check out Council's long-term plan. Check out the pre-election report, which will be available soon. Manai's working on it at the moment. Check out some agendas. If you haven't already been to a council meeting, check out how a council meeting works. Look at it online on a live stream. There's the legislation. Plenty of information there. Make sure you read the candidate handbook, which reiterates most of the things that I've talked about here so far. Now we've got a few slides from the Regional Council that Dave will quickly skip through. Is that all right, Dave? We're just about done. Yeah,
Alrighty. My name's Dave Doggart. I'm the Deputy Electoral Officer for Waikato Regional Council and also the team lead of our democracy services. So I'm the guy you see sitting in the council meeting telling people what not to do and trying to be helpful. So tonight I'm going to focus on the differences basically between regional and district council. Warwick's covered off the rules, and basically the same rules in terms of election apply to us as district council. So regional council is more focused on the wider region. We focus on water, biodiversity and biosecurity, coastal and marine, sustainable development and infrastructure, community connections, public transport, and transition to a low emissions economy. So we're the environmental arm of council. We do not look after the roads, potholes. We don't look after drains, but we do look after flood protection and drainage schemes. So there's a little bit of crossover there, and we definitely don't look after tap water. So as a candidate, our candidates have the pleasure in the supermarket when they say, I'm standing for council, and the first thing someone says to them is, what about that pothole outside my house? They can go, not us. We obviously cover a huge area from the top of the Coromandel down to Turangi, Moko, Okau, across to Whangamata. So the catchment area is very large, and some of our councillors do travel some distances to attend our meetings in Hamilton. We also, of course, have our Māori electorates, constituencies, and Ngātai Te Uta is the one that covers Waiho. And we will have one candidate there, and we have 2 seats in the Matamata-Piako constituency. Our council consists of 14 members in total. 12 are elected from 6 general constituencies, and 2 are elected from the 2 Māori constituencies. The positions to be contested here are the Waiho general constituency, of which there's 2 seats, and the Ngā Taiki Uta Māori constituency, it's 1 seat. In terms of time, our chair role is pretty close to full-time. And the councillor role, it depends on the number of committees that you're on. It can be anything from 20 hours a week to full-time. And again, like district council, there's a huge amount of reading. Some of the agendas, as Warwick said, are like this. And there can be also, you're trying to juggle your community events, engaging with your community. And of course, our councillors that are travelling those distances have to factor that in as well. The remuneration, our current remuneration is popped on the bottom here. Obviously, that's set by council and the remuneration authority, depending on the number of committees and the pool available. And it varies from 66K to 160 for the chair. And likewise, we too have an candidate information handbook, which will be on our website, which is waikato-region.govt.nz. If you have any questions, you can contact me or our electoral officer, who is Mali Apini, and feel free to pop onto our website. And if anyone has any questions, fire away.
I do have one question for you.
Not a bad warm up. That was the first one in 3 years.
On one of your slides,
Oh no, what have we done?
2022,
Oh,
should that be 2025? Or was that it?
oh no, that's the current.
2022
Yeah,
numbers?
no,
Are
that's
the
20.
current
Yep, that's current numbers. So
Okay.
obviously 2025, we'll be doing another one again.
Okay, all right. It was all right. So I better check that. And last slide. That's it. So no online voting, unfortunately. Where council elections are the only elections that we do that don't have an online component. I do truckloads of public, private sector elections. The volunteers of this world, councils don't have online. We've been asking this for a long time. Maybe one day, touch wood, maybe 10 years' time. But the big advantage this time is a lot more orange voting bins. Please do not leave lodging your nomination until the last minute. Keep yourself safe. And despite this presentation, that sometimes people complain to me that this is a bit negative and compliancy about all the stuff that you have to do as a candidate. It's not actually that bad. Where our job is to make it as easy as possible for you to be candidates. So Tamara and I, we will help anyone who's unsure about it and wants to know more information, and to help get your nominations and get them sorted. Because it really is a rewarding job, standing for council and being elected and having a say in the district. So I do encourage you to move forward with your nomination and just sing out and ask if you've got any questions. Saturday, 11th of October. That's when she's all over. And good luck. Any other questions while we're here? Anything you want to know? Any questions, any further questions online? No? All right. Well, thank you for coming along tonight. Appreciate your attendance. As I say, don't hesitate to ask. Thank you.